Alright, welcome back to another edition of the Golden Sun No S&Q tutorial. Today we're gonna go through Mercury Lighthouse, and Mercury Lighthouse is probably the first part of the run that gets really difficult. We are kind of doing things out of the intended order. The game expects you to go through Kalima Forest first, then we just beeline it out of there and go straight to Mercury Lighthouse. Not only are the encounters really tough here, we also have to deal with Sleet, who is a very difficult djinn to work with, and we also have to fight Saturos, who is notorious for being a difficult boss. So this edition, we're going to go through all of these things and see how these things will work out. So the position we're in currently is that we've just entered Mercury Lighthouse for the first time, and there are these two staircases, and we need to go and speak to Mia. What we're going to do is you can either go up the left or the right hand side. It doesn't really matter too much. In theory, the left hand side is slightly faster, but the thing is, what you don't want to do is just hold up left or up right. If you do that, you are going to get slow stairs. So what I mean by that is, if I do this, see how I'm slow, or if I do it on the right hand side, I'm also slow. So just don't hold up left or up right. You have to do something a little bit different to avoid that happening. So the first way you can do that is you can ricochet off this little pillar in the middle here, this thing here, ricochet up left, and then easy peasy. Or you can do that, where you just hold left as soon as you're able to, and you can get fast stairs relatively easily. So just keep that in mind, because otherwise you're going to get slow stairs. Most people find it easier to get fast stairs on the right hand side. I certainly think that's the case, but now I'm just basically trained to go left, so I'm going to go left and speak with Mia. As before, I'm going to use debug tools to kind of skip over a bunch of these cutscenes. At this point, we don't need to do anything. We don't need to worry about PP or anything like that. We just need to move this guy out of the way. And Mia will let us into Mercury Lighthouse. Recall that from the last time, we have this djinn setup where we have Ramses and Kieran. Make sure all our djinn are on standby at this point. This lizard fighter is going to block Mia's path. What we're going to do is we're going to beat the lizard fighter without the lizard fighter getting in action. The way we're going to do that is Isaac's going to use Ramses, Garrett's going to defend, Ivan's going to use Kieran. And there we go. We defeated the lizard fighter without the lizard fighter getting in action. You can do this fight in a slightly slower way by using synergy, but ultimately that's not going to give you... it's going to be slower, and there's really no downside to putting all your djinn on recovery at this point, because we're going to recover a whole bunch of them back in the room where we collect Mia. So we'll continue on. Nothing much to say here, we're just continuing through the dungeon as we normally would. As you can see, there's a lot of rooms here which don't give you encounters, which is really helpful. Just that middle room, basically. And now we come to this. It's really important at this point that we don't use move on the statue to move it down into the gap. We want to check our PP. In this case, we have 9, we have 2 healing possibilities, and away we go. That's fantastic. I'm looking to get less than 4 PP at this moment here. What's going to happen is I need to use a retreat glitch. Retreat glitch requires us to have less than 6 PP, but I'm also going to recover a tick of PP on the way up into the next room. So as long as I have less than 4 PP, everything will be fine, and less than 4 PP after casting moves, so at this point you want 6 or less, basically. I have 3, so this is totally fine. In a different world, where say I am recovering a ton of PP, I have 8 PP for instance in this situation, now I have 9. What I'd do here is I go move cancel, I now have 5 PP, now I'd move this into position, and that would just make that all work. But we weren't in that position, so we'll do that. Alright, fantastic. Now we have Mia in our party. We will need to do a djinn swap here, but we don't need to worry about that just yet. Don't go into retreat mode into this room, otherwise you'll run into problems. If you accidentally go into retreat mode, make sure you go through this door, retreat mode again, and then go through there. So that's the way out of that situation. Anyway, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go down here, go into retreat mode, that's when we needed the extra PP regen, and dive through here. Now we have wrong warped near the end of the dungeon. So our goal here is now we just need to go get Sleet. Alright, so to do that, I'm supposed to get an extra gen recovery. Where was my gen recovery? Oh well. Get an extra gen recovery here. That's fine. Now that all our gen have recovered, we're going to do this trade here and set Gust. So there's a few things here. So we could set Fizz on Ivan, but that will basically give Ivan kind of bad synergy. Prism is not a good ability in this area. Ray is far superior, so we'll keep Fizz on standby. We do want Gust set on Mia. The reason why we want Gust set on Mia is that she gets access to Plasma. Plasma is going to be really good. Not only that, check out her agility, it's 59. Mia will outspeed everything in this dungeon. So it's a really useful fact to keep in mind. The only downside by putting her in this class is she loses all of her ability to heal. That's a bit of a problem, but not something that we can't just menu around. The other thing we can consider doing here is setting Granite. Setting Granite does two things. It gives us a protection ability, so we can cast Granite to heal ourselves, to protect ourselves from a dangerous encounter, and it makes Garrett a little bit less useless because he now actually has some agility, can actually do things. Unfortunately, we don't have enough levels to get Blast yet, so we only get Growth, but this is a valid strategy as well. But I like to risk it and not worry about it. Maybe the game will prove me wrong when I come and do this. Anyway. We go up through here and we dive through and we're running along here. Notice how the PP regeneration is really fast here. And we get an encounter. So an encounter like this is really scary because the Harpy, which is this enemy here, is very fast and very dangerous. Lizardman, not so worried about him because we know that we can already beat him. We saw that before. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Ramses. Some combination of Ramses, Kieran, and Plasma basically will be our main way of clearing fights. So let's say we'll do Ramses, we'll do... Pretty sure Ray and Plasma will work here. So Ray and Plasma. And there we go. We can try for Ramses and Kieran, but sometimes it's just good to keep those two. Try not to heal with Isaac at this point. We actually need to get 6 PP by the time we get to Sleet, so just try to leave Isaac's PP alone. In this case, see, I've got Mia and Mia's quite banged up. I may want to throw a Ply into Mia and then reset Gust. So that's kind of the thing we have to do here. So we keep going up down this room. This is a scary encounter, so in this counter I'm going to go all out and try and blow them up because they're fast, they hit hard. Froth is not the ability I want to see. Hopefully this Kieran will kill people. Yeah, that's pretty decent, we survived. The encounter we really don't want to see is triple Harpy or triple Siren. That would be a bit of a problem. Notice how Ivan is still level 6. He's going to get to level 7 without a problem. You can see here that he only needs 82 more experience. We've got a couple high density encounters here. If we got 2 single enemies, it might be plausible that Ivan's not going to hit level 7 by Saturos, in which case the mint that we either did or did not get earlier comes into play. We can talk a little bit about that when we get to it, but yeah, let's just keep that in mind. We'll do another run through where we have Ivan at level 6 and see what the consequences of that are in a little bit. Anyway, same deal. I'm going to heal up with Mia. Don't feel bad about expending PP at this point. We are going to get a PP recovery eventually. I'm getting terrible encounter rates, that's interesting. Yeah, it's very unusual to get 3 encounters to Sleet. Usually you only get 2, so that's interesting. We're clearing these encounters like we have done. Easy. We got a nut, that's nice. I should have got a recovery before entering. Get recovery, and there we go. Alright, now we're in a position to do Sleet. So, to recap, battle strategy is Ramses, Kieran, Plasma. Sometimes we'll be able to get away with Ramses, Ray Plasma, or sometimes we'll be able to get away with Kieran, Ramses with Ivan and Mia, depending on the encounter that we get. It's a little bit of experience to know what you need to do, but that's fine. Okay, we've made it to Sleet. Sleet is very dangerous. If Sleet gets us caught by surprise, someone's probably dying. That's the unfortunate reality. Sleet can also run away, that's not very fun, and there's kind of nothing we can do about it. What we want to do here is this. So pretty much exactly the same setup, but now we've got Fever on set, Fizz set, Gust set. Having Fizz set is not really necessary anymore, depending on the strategy you use. So Fizz here is going to give Ivan a little bit more survivability against Frost Sphere, sorry. If you're doing the risky strategy, then having Fizz set will mean that splash damage from Frost Sphere will not kill Ivan, which is a good thing. But we like to do the safe strat these days, so I'm going to use the safe strat. I'll illustrate the other strat as well, but just so we're all on the same page. So with this setup, the idea is that we can clear Sleet in 2 turns, but the second turn, Mia is going to outspeed Sleet, and we don't need to worry about anything on that second turn. The not safe strategy does kill Sleet in 1 turn, but isn't that much faster. So let's do the fight the safe way. And we got attacks first, that's helpful. Just gonna change the BRN so that we get caught by surprise. Fantastic. I'd rather that didn't happen. Alright, this time. Okay, so this is a more conventional fight now. Like, getting attacks first is obviously fantastic, but we should never rely on attacks first to clear this fight. So the strategy is simple. Use Fever. We summon Kieran. We can't summon Kieran because we don't have enough Jin, but Isaac's going to go before Garrett, so we'll have Kieran ready. Ivan's going to defend, and Mia is going to use Plasma. As you can see, Sleet is very dangerous. He deals a lot of damage. Okay, and now we simply end the fight with Mia casting Ramses. Now, the reason we do Plasma Ramses is that if you end on a summon, you don't get the summon animation, and this will kill and avoid Mia getting the summon animation. Easy peasy. Let's see what the risky strat looks like. So in this world I've got attacks first, so that's fine, but let's do it properly. The risky strat would be this, basically the same thing, Kieran, but now Ivan is going to use Ramses, and Mia's going to use Plasma. Apparently I hit another attacks first seed, nice. And same thing, this will end up killing. So the only issue with that second strategy is that now Ivan's in a lot of danger. If Frost Sphere happens, if Frost Sphere doesn't happen, then you don't have to worry about anything, and that's totally fine. Fantastic. Alright, now we're in a position to return to the start of the dungeon. We haven't been using any of Isaac's BP, so he's still got 7 BP, so we can safely retreat out. If you end up in a situation where you don't have enough PP to retreat, recover 1 Jin, take Gust, and then put Gust on Isaac. That will give Isaac a boost of a few PP, because the base class for Jupiter has a pretty decent PP modifier attached to it. That may just allow you enough PP to cast Retreat and get out, so just keep that trick in mind if you need to get out. Okay, so now we're going to do one tiny little thing. We got 1 Jin recovery from the exterior, sorry. In this room here, we're going to take a slightly suboptimal path, and by taking a slightly suboptimal path, we're going to get this last Jin recovery, and that's going to allow us to run to a position for Saturos. So what you're going to do is you're going to run straight up into this wall, run left to the door, you're going to get the click once this happens, and you can pretty much safely run straight into the door. That's not what I wanted to do, it's still fine. Fantastic. And now we're in a position to go to Saturos. Alrighty. The Saturos setup is rather precise. So what we're going to do is we're going to move all of our Mars over to Ivan. We're going to set everything. Now stand by everything and set all of these Jinn. So let's explain what the hell has happened in this setup. So first of all, we have Flint here on Isaac. Isaac's going to be dealing, going to have boosted Venus power, and he's going to be using Flint a whole bunch of times and potentially Spire to deal damage. So that's why Flint's here. Granite is a no-brainer. We have 2 Venus Jinn and 2 Mercury Jinn split up between Isaac and Garrett to optimize the Jinn recovery for the summons. That's going to optimize our summon efficiency, allow us to get off as many summons as possible, as frequently as possible. Ivan, ideally at level 7, will have 2 Mars Jinn, Forge and Fever. What does this do? It does 2 things. 1, Ivan is a tank in this fight. Ivan is so tanky, he can tank an eruption to the face without defend or granite. Often Ivan has the stereotype of being a really frail character. Specifically in this fight, he is your tankiest party member. If you need to make a decision between somebody else getting healed and Ivan getting healed, should never happen, but if it does, heal the other person, because Ivan is tanky. Real beefy. So, Saturos has 51 agility, if I recall correctly, and C55 here is above that threshold, so you're totally fine. Finally, Mia has Gust set. Really important that it's set because it does 2 things. 1, it gives us access to Prism. Prism is a really good ability against Saturos, that shouldn't be too surprising. Second of all, Mia's agility is 59. We've already seen that 55 is enough to outspeed Saturos, so at 59, Mia is going to outspeed Saturos. Between Ivan and Mia, we're going to have the ability to heal off any damage before Saturos gets an action, so that's really important. That's the whole reason agility on Ivan matters. We're going to give Ivan a bunch of herbs later on, or well, right before the fight actually, and we want him to be able to outspeed Saturos to give us the safety to do stuff. So really important that that's the case. Alright. We have to do some item stuff here as well. We have these herbs. We're going to give all of Isaac's herbs to Ivan. So Ivan should have 6 herbs at this point. If for some reason the herb routing was off earlier and you had to get extra herbs, then just don't know who has them, but make sure Ivan has 6. We can also give Ivan any nuts that we may have. We usually only have 1, so I'm just going to drop this extra nut. So this is the setup. We want 6 herbs and 1 nut. We have 1 additional healing item in case things go wrong, but this should be sufficient. Garrett has 2 herbs conveniently. We're going to give both of these herbs to Mia. So here's the setup. No healing items, no healing items. 7 healing items, 3 healing items. That's enough healing to get us through the Saturos fight without issue. Finally, we're in this area here. Use retreat mode, and this is why we could, if we accidentally entered retreat mode at this point, we couldn't just walk through this door, because we end up at the area. Fantastic, that's a fun little retreat glitch right there. So before we go and fight Saturos, let's just view what the consequences would be if we only had Ivan at level 6. So if we go back to here, for instance, Ivan is level 6, I'm just going to turn off encounters really quick. Do this fight as we did last time. That's not what we do. It's now in a situation where Ivan is still level 6. It's a pretty bad situation for us because he's got 153 to the next level. That means we'd need at least 1 more encounter. If we only got 1 enemy in that encounter, then we'd need to have 2 encounters, and that's just kind of bad. So, let's see what happens. Please. I didn't get that extra Jinn recovery, that's fine. Alright, so let's do the menu that we did before. It's basically this here, this here. Now look at Ivan's agility. Ivan only has 50 agility in this situation. We did explain before that Saturos has 51 agility. That means Saturos could outspeed Ivan. Now the way agility works in this game is kind of interesting. So your agility is not fixed. That's right. You gain up to 6% bonus agility on action confirmation. You won't know how much agility you have until the turn plays out. We've seen this crop up a few times already, where sometimes Isaac would outspeed and sometimes he wouldn't outspeed, but this is the mechanic that's at play. So at 50 agility, we can receive up to 3 bonus agility, and potentially none. So that means we can get 0, 1, 2, or 3. Roughly evenly distributed or uniformly distributed. So that means there's about a 25% chance that Ivan will act with 50 agility and a 75% chance that he'll act with 51 or more agility. If there is a speed tie, the player controller or the player character has priority. So 75% of the time, Ivan will outspeed at level 6. 75. It's that 25% that will get you, because if, let's say you don't outspeed on a fireball turn, then maybe somebody dies. So that's just the risk you accept when you go at level 6. It's a winnable fight, but it is no longer guaranteed. At level 7, this fight is guaranteed. However, if you decide that you pick up this mint here, that mint gave us 7 agility, which is quite nice, and now Ivan will outspeed Saturos without any issue, and the fight will proceed as normal. The only issue here is that Ivan will have less tankiness and won't be able to tank the eruption, but he'll still be your most tanky party member. So, now that we've discussed agility and consequences of that, let's return to the file we had before, where Ivan is level 7, because this is exactly the expectation. Alright, so let's dive into the Saturos fight. There's some fun cutscenes. Normally there's a bunch of Jenna faces that appear, but since we used the debug mode thingy, they didn't appear, but that's fine. If you've seen a speedrun, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So how does Saturos work? Saturos works as a pattern-based boss. What does that mean? It means he cycles through his actions one after another, and only the starting point is random. So, what does that mean? Well, Saturos has 8 actions. They are attack, heat flash, fireball, attack, fireball, heat flash, attack, and eruption. And what will happen is that at the end of this turn that I'm on right now, one of these actions is going to be selected, and then Saturos is going to cycle through all of these actions. So let's say he started with this attack. On the next turn, it would be this fireball, this heat flash, this attack, this eruption. Then it would loop back around to attack here, and then that would be the next action. And it would continually repeat like that. So what we have done in the notes is we've actually mapped out a successful Saturos strategy regardless of where he starts of these 8 positions. We won't know where he starts in this position until we have usually at least 2 actions, unless it's an eruption, but it doesn't matter. Regardless of where he starts, we have a strategy that wins. You don't have to follow the strategy. It won't necessarily be optimal to follow the strategy. You may be able to take a risk and do better. And so if you just want to wing it, you're more than welcome to. The runner boy, the hero, he wings these fights, he gets very, very good times. I like to use the scripted fights because I think safety is a pretty good thing. So, the first turn is always going to be the same. So what is that? The first turn is always Ramses, Granite, Attack, and Nereid. You can use Slash instead of Attack with Ivan, basically personal preference. So I'm not going to go through all 8 variations on this fight. You can consult the notes to do that. But I will walk through what I'm thinking when I'm seeing this fight unfold. Fireball. Okay. So the reason we use Granite on the first turn is because we don't know where he's going to start, and if we get Eruption, we will die if we don't have Granite up. So, alright, we now know that he is on a Fireball turn. So if we go to Saturos' pattern, we know he must be either here or here. So the next action is either going to be Attack or Heat Flash, and that will delineate between which Fireball he was using. So for both fireball strategies, the next turn is always the same. We're going to use either Spire or Cure with Isaac, attack, Herb, and Herb. I look like this situation looks pretty good. So as I mentioned, Ivan is pretty tanky, so I'm not too worried about Ivan. I'm going to go for the higher damage strat and go for Spire with Isaac, attack, and then I'm going to use Herb and Herb rather than try heal everybody. If Fireball hit 4 people, I would definitely be curing with Isaac instead of using Spire here. Okay, so Saturos used attack, so now I know that he must be here. So the next action is going to be Fireball. So what am I going to do? Well, the notes kind of lay it out pretty clearly. I'm going to use whatever I'm going to use. In this situation, because I know it's going to be Fireball, I'm going to heal using Fizz on either Garrett or Ivan, because Garrett or Ivan is guaranteed to be hit by Fireball every turn. Fireball either targets 3 or 4, so that means that means the 2 people in the middle will always be hit. It's only ever Isaac or Mia who don't get targeted. So I'm going to heal Ivan, or I'm going to heal Garrett. I'm going to heal Ivan because I like healing Ivan. It's a bit of habit from the old strat. So with Garrett, I'm going to use Sleet, and I can either Herb or whatever. I'm going to use Prism here again, trying to maximize damage. That's not a problem. Fireball hits 3, that's not a problem. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do here is notice how Isaac is in critical HP. Remember how we have a nut. Anytime someone, like particularly Isaac or Mia, ends up in critical HP, is an opportunity to use the nut to offset that damage and put you into a better position. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm going to use Venus, I'm going to use Granite, I'm going to use the nut, and I'm going to use a Herb on Garrett. That will put us in a fantastic position to close out this fight. So this is a Heat Flash turn, by the way. At this point we're just going through the motions, right? So each of the strategies has a particular turn order on what things that we do. Just going through the motions. So this next turn is going to be a Eruption. Eruption's usually quite scary, but we have this wonderful guy called Granite, so we're going to make use of that. So we summon Ramses. Granite. In all variations of the strategy, we try to coincide Granite with an Eruption turn. There's only one starting point where that's not possible, and that's if Saturos starts with the second Heat Flash there, but it's not a huge deal. It's all workable. Ouch, he's one dangerous guy. This turn is attack. We don't have to worry too much about attack or anything like that. So here we're going to use Fizz. I'm just going to Fizz Isaac because I can. Fizz Sleet. Because this turn is an attack turn, I'm not going to take that much damage. So I'm just going to heal the person who's weakest, in this case it's Isaac, because Garrett will be able to tank an attack even from this HP. The same would be true if these 2 guys were targeted. Like, don't be too worried about attack here, it's not going to do too much damage. Heat Flash is something you should worry about, that thing is dangerous. Fantastic, alright. See, no problem at all. And then finally we can just cast Nero to end this fight. Easy. So as I mentioned, it doesn't matter where you start in the script, start in terms of Saturos' pattern, you will always be able to win the fight if you follow the pattern. If you feel more confident, you can deviate from the pattern and try and work out a way to beat Saturos. I've tried to highlight a few of the intricacies as I'm thinking about when I go through that fight if you do happen to go off script, so thinking about things like using the nut when people are in critical HP, knowing that attack turns are really safe and you don't have to worry too much about if someone's like mid HP, they'll probably survive the attack unless you get crit, but that's really unlikely. and also trying to coincide granite turns with eruption, so that eruption and fireball, so that you can avoid lots of AoE damage across people. Ultimately, what you need to do though is, especially when you're learning this game, I would strongly recommend you just consult the notes, follow the script, and you will be okay. So, that is Mercury Lighthouse, probably one of the more challenging segments in this game. Lots of places where the run can die. If you miss input on Saturos and go off script, like, there's a non-zero chance that you die. He has a very dangerous fight. The fact that there is a safe fight is basically only possible because of having granite. And we've also seen how Sleet can be dangerous. We've seen how the encounters, well, we didn't get the bad encounter, but we know those things can be dangerous. We also covered why level 7 on Ivan is such an important thing. Fantastic. Well, after Saturos, there really isn't a run killer until Kraken. So we've got a lot of game to get through, and it's basically going to be smooth sailing from here on out until we get to Kraken. So, to that end, thank you for joining us for the Mercury Lighthouse tutorial. Hopefully you found it useful. Let me know in the comments if you didn't. You can always redo a segment if we have to, it's not a problem. And yeah, we'll see you next time, where we'll probably go through up to Tret, possibly even up to Zephyr. We'll see how we go. We'll see how we go for time. Alright, see you next time.